Hey everyone, today I want to talk about a little solve that my friend and partner and I all completed just recently. So on Tuesday, the 1st of November 2022, myself, and Stephen Griggs, yeah, that Stephen Griggs, we all were working on some factory solves of the FTO. A factory solve is where one person will solve one step and then hand it to the next person who will solve the following step, and then they'll pass it on to the next, and so on. People do this a lot with 3x3 and all sorts of puzzles, so we thought we'd try it with FTO, since all of us know how to solve it. Now, important things to note. This colour scheme here, Stephen doesn't know it. And so when we were trying certain solves, we were having a real tricky time where Stephen was trying to build a center or the last two centers or whatever, but he would get the color scheme wrong because he doesn't know the color scheme. And we ended up, mostly because from the help of M and chat, we came up with the idea to give Stephen the first two triples and the last bottom triple. So if I give you an example solve here, just a quick one, nothing too fancy. Okay, so I've got I'll build a white center like this, and here we've already got one triple done, so Stephen can look for a corner. Here's one. Okay, I see a yellow sticker there, so he might do, oh, even better, there's a sticker there. So now he can put that in the R there, and he can check the corner and see, okay, I need a pink. Okay, great, well, this doesn't have yellow there, so I move, there's the yellow, so then he knows where to put it in, which makes it a little bit easier for Stephen because he can then start, worrying about that instead of having to worry about where things belong. So here's the last bottom triple. Okay, there's my corner. Great, there's a yellow, easy peasy. And then these two we just flip, so like that. So you don't need to know the color scheme to be able to do the last bottom triple. And then here, because I was solving the sort of TCP case, M doesn't have to try and force this to be even TCP. She can just match these two up and give me an odd TCP case like this. And then from here, I know how to solve this because I do remember all of my TCP algs now, thank goodness. So it meant that each of us was carrying a different amount of responsibility proportional to our experience with the puzzle itself, and also specifically with this color scheme. It's not really fair to expect Stephen to get the color scheme right on a puzzle he's never used before. But it's perfectly fair to expect me to get it right because I've done it thousands of times. Then we also, we're trying different orders and organizing things that way. Maybe M starts, maybe I start. And what I reckon what makes the most sense, and at least this worked for us, is having me start because I'm the most experienced and I'm able to spot ideas like building arrow blocks and preserving triples. M is very good at this as well, so either of us would be a good fit, but when it comes to the TCPs right at the end of the solve as well, I know all of them, so it probably made most sense to give me those. They're also, the steps with the most moves are the start, if you're not finding the perfect solution, the TCPs, if you get a bad one, and the last two centers, which is, those were my three steps. And since I can turn the fastest, it makes sense to give me those steps. So ultimately, we had the perfect order, the dream team, and the perfect coordination for a fantastic solve. So let's go into the reconstruction. So let's start with the scramble. U, B, L, B prime, R, L prime, U. B prime, R, F, B, L, L prime, U, F, L, B, R prime, B, L, R, B, R prime, R, B, L prime, F, B, B, L, B, R prime, D prime, B, L, B prime, D, L prime, and B, L prime. So the first thing that I'm going to be looking at, let's have a quick look. Let's find all our white pieces because I start with white center. Got this lovely small trap here with half a triple attached to it. So one idea might be to try and insert this edge so that the cyan white edge sits here and a pink stick is there. But as I looked at it, I couldn't really see. I could have put this with a U move to match these up, but then I couldn't think of a way to get this to match up with that nicely. So I immediately kind of disregarded that, having then seen this lovely triple here. So we're going to just ignore this for now. And we're going to try and build the large trap that matches this yellow and cyan triple. So there's the yellow edge, and here's the cyan edge. So this triangle needs to be there or there. And if I put it there, that's going to take quite a few moves. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 to put it in, and then the edge won't even be in the right place. Oh, it will actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's all right, but there's a better solution, which is actually to match up these two pieces and then insert them there, like this. So R wide, R prime, U prime, R, and then I did U prime, R to match them up, and I rotated so that I would be putting this triple in like so. So now I have this, I rotated, and there is our small trap completely preserved. So I rotated to put it like this. Now, I'm going to pass this over to Stephen. So I want to make sure that Stephen knows where he stands with it, what state, where the pieces are. So I pass it to Stephen. I think I'm holding it sort of like this. So it's got BL, the white center on BL, and I hand it to Stephen, and he'll notice that this corner and this sticker are matching. And then I think he saw this sticker here, this pink triangle. So he does U prime, R prime, U prime, R, which is exactly, it's the best number of moves for that. And then here he does something interesting. What I would do in this position is just BL prime, U prime, BL. And that inserts it like so. But Stephen actually rotates with an RO and then does R wide U to insert it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The only reason I personally wouldn't do that is because now I've got the block sort of here, but just a BL, and now it's where it should be. So no biggie. Then Stephen does an RO because he's done this triple and he doesn't know that this one's done. He rolls over, realizes he's got this free triple that I gave him, or rather the scramble gave him, and then he does an RO again and then passes it to M. As it kind of goes to M, she picks it up and immediately saw this and this edge here to make the blue center as a second center. As I look at this, there's not really a better option. I suppose you could do green center, but this is just, it's right there, So one way you could solve this is with a U prime, U prime, R prime, and that makes the large trap there. But M actually does something slightly different. And by the way that I just showed you, totally fine. And this way, same number of moves. So M does a U prime, R wide, U prime, R prime like this. What I like about this solution is that you see two centers here and you don't know what's on the back, especially because you've only just received the puzzle. So U prime, R wide now shows the last remaining center. There's U prime, R prime, and then this is such a nice case here because you do U prime and these two are lined up. So R wide prime, that's R wide, R prime, U, R wide prime, and then a U prime. And then M passes me the puzzle with this on top. When M and I have been practicing factory solves, I will leave the second center on top because she often recognizes what center to go next based on this color here of this edge, which is a way of recognizing what it is. It's because M is color neutral, so she doesn't actually know, sort of intrinsically know a color scheme. She's sort of got them memorized and will identify what needs to go where based on that. However, I don't necessarily need that because I only solve white, so I couldn't handle it if it was a different color scheme. But for white, I know that if blue is here, red is here, and green is here. So then I do an R wide and assess the situation, and I see here I've got this yellow and red, which can be paired up with this one. Not this way, by the way. This is not correct color scheme. That's not the right order. It needs to be U prime, R, U, R prime, and that builds the large trap, and then a U. And then I knew that I would have this case here for the remaining part, so I can just go straight into it. R wide, R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R. And you may have noticed something as I was doing this. Look, half of the triple is done. U prime, R, and then U prime to orient the center. And then I didn't do an R wide prime, though I might have done that in a real solve. I just rotated. And then, actually, no, I did do an R wide prime. I did. And then I rotated, saw this was done, and then handed it to Stephen in this position. So not sort of like rotating and having it here. I made sure that the thing directly in front of him was this completed triple, so that he'll see it and go, oh, there's a free triple. Let me solve that, Ed. He didn't actually say that. But yeah, Stephen received the puzzle and he has this, so he just does, he kind of does a half rotation, but basically you're just going to move the triple out of the way, bring up the slot the triple is going into, U prime to insert the triple, and then just F prime to bring that slot back to where it goes. And then actually Stephen rotated and did a D prime like this. So one thing you could do to something to work on, especially if you have a FTO, because finger tricks are easier, is actually use your middle finger or your ring finger or pinky to do your D primes like that. So I'll show you again, kind of pulling them across like this, rather than what Stephen did, which was just let go and regrip and do it like that. But that's also fine. That's also completely fine. The puzzle slides over to M. It kind of moves a bit. She catches it in this position, so she can see one pair is done. And then she, I think, looked over here first and saw a triangle, and then did U to match up these two. Realized that gave her an awkward case here, so did a U prime, and then correctly identified that just flipping this triple and this triple means we can match up these two triangles here. So U, F prime, U prime F. I mean, you can also think of that as L, R prime, L prime, R. Doesn't really matter. And then just a U prime to match these up. I get past it and I'm looking at it and I go, oh, it's a 4 mover. And then I'm catching and rushing so that I can finish the time and get it done. It's a 4 mover with AUF, so that was a pretty easy TCP. So overall, that solve was 58 moves in 31.42 seconds, which comes to an average TPS of 1.85. But let's not forget, there was a period of time for each of us where we would be passing it to the other person. It would be moving across the table. We have to pause to recognize stuff. So I also looked at a frame count for each of our individual steps and then calculated a mean TPS based on those. So for example, that first one, just counting when I was holding the puzzle with both hands and about to start turning and then letting go to give to Stephen, it was about 3 seconds for that first 8 moves. And then a bit later on, when I was doing the last 2 centers, it was 4 seconds for 16 moves. Last 2 centers is always a really quick step. And then for the final 4 mover in AUF, because I was locking up and trying to get it done, ready to finish, we were looking at, it was 3 seconds for only 5 moves. So much slower on that last bit because I was locking up. My average TPS was 2.9, which I think is pretty good considering my lockups there. And then Stevens, he took about 5 seconds for the first 2 triples. Part of that was him recognizing that one of them was already done. So it was solving the first one and then rotating and rotating again. And then I stopped counting when he was about to hand it over. So 5 seconds for 6 moves. And then a bit later on, he was doing the last bottom triple. So of course there was a bit of time where he's recognizing that the triple is done as well. And that was 4 seconds for 5 moves. So his average TPS was 1.22 TPS. And then for M, she first had the second center, which she solved in about 4.5, 4 1/3 sort of seconds, with 11 moves. And then the last 3 triples, so the pair formation, she did a U and a U prime, or U prime U, something like that. A couple of extra moves, which obviously slowed it down a bit, but it was still pretty fast at 3.5 seconds for 7 moves. So M's average was 2.25 TPS. So we were able to we kind of found a mean between the 3 of us. I think my estimate is that we spent about 27 seconds solving and about 4 seconds passing it between us. So you can see how a factory solve is going to slow down the real solve time itself, if you will, because you have to pass it to each other. You've also got to sort of recognize what the person has just done before you and where you're at, that sort of thing. I personally found that I was able to follow a bit of what M was doing and see where she was in the previous step, especially when it came to the second center. When she finished the second center, I already had a glimpse of that So she had the second center up here, and I kind of had a glimpse of some of the pieces down here. So I sort of had a kind of idea of what I was going to do next, which is important because obviously you need to look where you're not solving. And luckily for me, when the other person is solving, I can look where they're not solving. It's a lot easier. So obviously really proud of that scramble. And thanks Em and Stephen for your hard work. And also thank you, Stephen, of course, for joining us all the way from the States. So that's the solve. Pretty cool. Very nice stats. Very pleased with that solve. I don't know how easy it will be for us to actually beat that. We may not have a chance for ages because we might not see Stephen forever. Who knows? Point is, great solve. Very proud of it. And you can catch the stream of myself and sometimes Em and sometimes other guests, usually on a Tuesday evening, British time, at twitch.tv/EdTheRexman. It'll be on screen. It'll be in the description. And you can find Stephen at twitch.tv/15sgriggs. And also in YouTube, I can't remember his YouTube name, something like Taco Cubes, Taco Cuba. I will link all that stuff. Stephen's great. He's a very fast solver at all the N by N's and all the good stuff. And he needs to practice his FTO a bit, but he's fantastic and he's a great chap. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us, and obviously thank you, Em, for your hard work and patience. And thanks, everyone, for watching. I will see you in the next one. Yeah, good job.
Yes, son.
Nice. Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god, what?
How?
Yes, Stephen! What? That was insane! Oh my god. We're not beating that.
I looked after I'd done my bit, and normally it was on like 27, but it was on 17. I was like,
Hey, I got a PB! That would be PB for me.
There's a car going past.